So it's hard to believe it's been 60 years since the 35th president of the United States was assassinated. I'm talking with documentarian, director, and just 23 years old from right here in Indianapolis, Ashton Gleckman. Good morning.
Good morning to you. The one thing that you missed was Hoosier. I'm a proud Hoosier from
Yes, proud
Indiana.
Hoosier.
So
So he has a new JFK documentary that's premiering on the History Channel. What piqued your interest in JFK's story?
I grew up really interested in figures like Winston Churchill and Ulysses S. Grant and a lot of historical figures that have really had a huge impact on where we are and how our country has sort of developed. And one of the things that was interesting about JFK was he was president through one of the most difficult periods in American history. The Cuban Missile Crisis happened in 1962 and almost brought us to nuclear war. The Bay of Pigs happens in April of 61. The Civil Rights Movement, the freedom rides happened during his presidency, and two integration crises happened. And he's president all while this is happening. So he was someone that really had a sense of knowing what a crisis was like. And also, he was someone that learned. When he first faced the Bay of Pigs, he made a lot of mistakes that we talk about in the show. And then later on, when he goes into the missile crisis, he takes a lot of those lessons, and that help us emerge from that crisis. So I think one of the things about JFK was he was someone that learned and also was able to see this amazing point in our history that has really created the world we live in, today.
Yeah. And so you interviewed 70 more people from 25 states about JFK, from family members, politicians, even Conan O'Brien. What did you learn about JFK through all these interviews?
Well, for example, I wanted to talk to people from a wide range of perspectives. So, for example, I went to Birmingham, Alabama, and spoke to people that were actually on the ground during the civil rights movement in Birmingham in 1963, with the water hoses and Bull Connor, very iconic, haunting images that still resonate with us today. And I spoke to people that were there and what they thought of seeing Kennedy's speech. I spoke to civil rights historians. I spoke to biographers of Kennedy. I spoke to Cold War historians and family members, because I was personally interested in how all these people sort of saw Kennedy through their own lens, because all these people have different ways of seeing the world and also seeing Kennedy's legacy. So I just tried my best to feature as many different perspectives as I could.
Yeah. And I want to make it clear, you weren't just the director of this. You also co-scored it. You helped produce it. And it's just incredible what you do, even at 23. How was working on all of this? How did you do each role for this?
Yeah, it was one of those things where when I started out the project, it was just me in my house researching, spending months in the archives digitally looking at memos and letters and all these different things. And finally, I added two more people to my crew when I started filming the documentary, and we traveled around the country. And then slowly but surely, more people were added in. But throughout the process, my first cut as an editor was 14 hours. And that was basically me in my editing room trying to bring 170 hours of interviews down to a series. And so then I had to bring the 14-hour rough cut all the way down to what it is now. So it was a huge process, but at the same time, I love being really engaged in every film and really trying to get in there. And that was just a joy to do with this project, is work on so many different parts of it.
Yeah, and you mentioned the footage. What's the process like of licensing that and getting able to use that for your documentary series?
Yes. So I want to use an example for this. So for the last 4 episodes of the show, the second half of the series, that takes place during the presidency. And JFK was the first president to have a full-time White House photographer crew. And he also had videographers that were filming in sort of high-resolution film, 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter. So we have some great footage and photographs of his presidency. But the first 4 episodes, all of the archives are much more rare. For example, images of him that are in the Kennedy family's personal collection at the Library Foundation. We had to really get in there and try to bring out some of the more rare stuff of him in his younger years, because there was no, dedicated photographer who was there all the time. You have to really go in and find the individual smaller archive. Because part of, I think, audiences connecting with the show and with the documentary is through how they're seeing the story play out. So it was important for me to try to show the audience as much as they could see in terms of his life.
Yeah. And what's one thing you learned, just one piece of advice from JFK that you think still resonates today?
Possibly the biggest one was his experience in the war. was something I did not know about, and I think a lot of people that grew up, in this period will know the story about PT 109. But for me, the story of PT 109 is the story of this young, scrawny kid who goes out into the Pacific and uses his family connections to get into active fighting rather than getting out of it. And he sees the benefit of participating in what the country was going through. And he goes out there, he puts in the work, he puts in the effort, he helps protect his crew and swims miles in the middle of the night to safety with a busted back. To me, it's just heroism, it's courage, and I think it's also indicative of what will follow later on in his presidency and how he approaches crises.
Mm-hmm. And as a born and raised Hoosier, what's next for you? Any Hoosiers you want to document? Any people you want to share their life stories?
Absolutely. I mean, literally every single story I'm open to, and I'm always trying to look for great stories as a documentary filmmaker. My next film is about Clint Hill, who is the legendary agent who served Presidents Eisenhower through Ford. So he was Jackie Kennedy's main agent. He was in Dallas on the back of the car and wrote the book Five Presidents. And so I just wrapped filming that, and I'm currently fully in post-production. So I think everything is steaming ahead, and I'm so excited to finally get Kennedy out there for people to see it and enjoy it.
I can't wait for people to see it. I'm so thrilled for you. Nearly a one-man band. Thanks so much, Ashton. Be sure to watch Kennedy 3-night premiere, History Channel, starting November 18th.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much,
Yes,
Trevor. Thank you.
thank you.